I hope my voice is audible and my screen is visible to everyone. Pradanya, you can confirm.
Yes, Rupa.
Yes. So, hi everyone. Welcome to today's live demo LinkedIn session, which is on automating Azure Container Registry updates with seamless Azure DevOps pipelines. Uh, So, firstly, let me introduce myself. My name is Roopashree Ramdas, and I'm an infrastructure and DevOps engineer with 5+ years of extensive experience in building and maintaining a secureable enterprise level application. So, previously, I have worked with US based utility and US based banking and insurance client. Over the past years, I have helped teams to cut down deployment times, improve uptime, and strengthen security and cost practices using core DevOps tools and technologies. And I'm passionate about mentoring and love sharing the knowledge to help others grow in their DevOps journey and also solving some of the real world challenges. So, our today's session would last for about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Coming to today's key takeaways from this session is automation of Docker image management. Then we'll also understand about the pipelines enforcing consistent image versions using tags. Then we'll also learn about how we can achieve scalability for modern deployments. And then we'll also learn some of the best practices by the usage of YAML pipelines, allowing flexible triggers and environment-specific build configurations. And moving to our today's agenda. So firstly, we'll go ahead with introduction. Then we'll see why we need this setup and the importance of this setup. Next, we'll move ahead with some of the prerequisites for this lab for the practical session. Then we'll move ahead with live demo session, which is presented by Pradnya. And then later, we'll move ahead with advantages and disadvantages for our setup, live LinkedIn session. Yeah, so coming to the introduction. So in our today's session, we would be using two main key services of Azure, that is Azure Container Registry and Azure DevOps. So as we all know, Azure Container Registry is a fully managed private registry for building, storing, and managing container images and artifacts. So it integrates seamlessly with Azure services and Kubernetes, ensuring secured image storage and controlled access. So just like how we use our Jenkins, we have a service in Azure, which is Azure DevOps, which provides a complete CI/CD platform with pipelines, repositories, and service connections to automate the software delivery. Next, we'll move ahead why this setup is important, like the importance of this setup. So as we all know, how to manually push a Docker image from our local machine to Azure Container Registry, that is our ACR. While this approach works, but it has a one-way process with certain significant limitations. So the image push to ACR remains quite static, which means they won't automatically update or reflect any code changes unless they're manually rebuilt or pushed again. So this lack of automation means no update to image versions or the content in the ACR when there is any code changes, when there are any code changes from the developers. So such a workflow contradicts the core principles of continuous integration and continuous deployment. As we all know, CI/CD majorly emphasizes on the automation part, and it ensures if any code changes occurs, then they are seamlessly integrated and deployed without any manual intervention. And the good news is this limitation can be addressed by building and pushing the image directly from our Azure DevOps. So this approach enables automatic updates to the image in the ACR whenever the changes are made to the code uh, to the code later. So next we'll go ahead with some of the prerequisites for our lab. So firstly, we would need Azure CLI and Docker CLI to be installed in our system. And next, we would need the Azure Container Registry service, Azure DevOps Repository service. And also we would need Azure subscription to run the CLI commands. And we would need some of the basic knowledge of YAML syntax and CI/CD concepts. So next, I'll hand over it to Pradnya for our LinkedIn Live demo session on our setup with Azure DevOps and Azure Container Registry. Yeah, so to Pradnya.
Yeah, thanks, Rupa. So let me introduce myself first. So hello, everyone. I'm Pradnya Deshpande. I have been working in the IT industry for the past 8 years with a strong focus on Azure infrastructure and DevOps services. I have gained hands-on experience with the Azure services, Terraform, and Docker. Over the years, I have worked with multiple manufacturing and banking customers based in Japan and Singapore, helping them to secure and automate, along with that, optimize the infrastructure. So I'm really glad to be here to share the knowledge and learn together. So let's move ahead with today's demo. So as you are able to see on the screen, the live demo, the high level diagram, which we will be going to implement. So let me just go through that and explain a bit about it. So as a part of this demonstration, we will be the code which we have, code like that means the Docker file which we have, so that we will commit to the Azure repository from the GitHub to the Azure repository. So that commit and push we will do. After that, we will implement or create the Azure pipeline. And when the Azure pipeline, in the Azure pipeline, the two main tasks which we will be implementing or creating, that is building the Docker image and pushing it to the Azure Container Registry. So as a part of today's demo, the two major components which Rupa also explained, we will be focusing on, those are like Azure DevOps and the Azure Container Registry. So the Azure Container Registry, we use it for managing and storing the Docker images. So this is all about the Azure like container registry. The details I will explain while creating and demonstrating it going ahead. Other than that, from the Azure DevOps, so Azure DevOps, it's again a suite of services with the DevOps practices provided by the Azure. So from the Azure DevOps, we will be using the two major services, that is Azure Repo and Azure Pipelines. Along with these, the Azure DevOps platform provides a few other services like artifacts or the test plans. Those also we have. But as a part of this demonstration, we will be focusing on these two services as of now. So let's move to the actual implementation. So Rupa, let me share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Can someone confirm if it is visible to all of you?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thanks, Rupa. Okay, so I'm already logged into my Azure portal. So first, we will go ahead with the creation of a resource group and the Azure Container Registry. And then we will move ahead with the Azure DevOps part. So the implementation which I will be doing for creating this Azure resource group and the Azure Container Registry, that I will do along with the Azure CLI. So first, for the login purpose, I will use the device-based authentication. So If you don't want to use or go ahead with the device-based authentication, you can only use the easy login command. And based on that, you need to, for that authentication, you can use your Azure account credentials to log in. I'm using device-based authentication here. Let me select. Okay, so our the login device-based authentication is completed, and now the subscription is visible. So in my tenant, I'm having only one subscription, so I'll go with the default. So pressing the enter. Okay, now I will move ahead create the Azure like resource group. So let me create it. Easy group create. I'm creating it with the name RG01, and I'm creating it in the location Central India. Okay. Okay, so our resource group is now created. So let's move create the Azure Container Registry. So for creating the Azure Container Registry, again, just let me enter the command. See, ACR create. Here, first, I'm entering the name for Azure Container Registry. Let's give it as ACR live demo. Here, we need to mention in which resource group we will be creating this Azure Container Registry. So, resource group name. Okay, RG01 we have mentioned. Along with that, when we are creating a Azure Container Registry, the one more important parameter we need to mention, that is SKU. In the Azure portal, if you are going ahead to create the Azure Container Registry with the through the Azure portal, you can see that two SKU versions are available, standard and premium. So as we are doing it for the demonstration purpose, I will go ahead with the standard. So based on your requirement, you can go ahead for that. Sorry. Standard. And the one more important parameter for this demonstration, which I will be putting here, that is admin enabled. So for the Azure Container Registry, I'm enabling the admin account. Admin enabled as true. So this, let me just enter. Okay. Meanwhile, the ACR, the Azure Container Registry is now created. So I would like to add one point here, why I added the admin account enabled that particular parameter and what it is exactly. So when we create the Azure Container Registry, it has like by default, we have that admin account, but it's in a disabled state. So enabling and using it, that particular admin account, we can do it only for the testing purposes. It is not recommended for the production based applications, or when we are using in the production environment. So it's recommended only for the test purpose. For the production, when you are using it in the production, at that time you can use the service principals for the overall login and authentication purpose. So now our resource group and the Azure Container Registry is created. So let me just log in with the ACR. I'll just run the command ACR login with the ACR name. I'm doing it ACR live demo. Sorry. Okay, so the login is succeeded. Let's just move quickly to the Azure portal to see whatever we have created, it's been reflected in the portal properly. So in the resource group, we have created a resource group with the name RG01. It's reflected. And the Azure Container Registry, which we have created, is also reflected properly. So the admin enabled part, which I like, which I mentioned in the Azure command. So if you want to do that, like enabling the admin account through the Azure portal, once your container registry is created, from the settings, you can navigate to the access keys, and here you can see that admin user is now enabled. So the username and the 2 passwords will be provided, and you can regenerate as well that if needed. So here you can see those details. So one another point from the Azure Container Registry, before we move to the Azure DevOps part, I would like to mention that from the services, the repository is one another the major factor here, which we will be focusing again, because we will be pushing the image through the Azure DevOps pipeline. So now we have just created the container registry, and in the repository, it's a complete, like it's a blank. So let's see what happens once we implement the Azure pipeline. So let me move to the next part with the Azure DevOps. So moving with the Azure DevOps, you need to go ahead in the Azure service. You need to select this Azure DevOps organization. Let me click on that. So the Azure DevOps platform page is now visible. Just click on My Azure DevOps Organizations. So here I have already created Azure DevOps organization, and few of the projects as well you are able to see here. So if you are new for the Azure DevOps platform and want to create a new DevOps organization, you can create the new organization from here. You need to provide some basic details, and then you will be able to create your DevOps organization and can proceed with the projects. So as I have already created the DevOps organization, let me go through the existing one. Okay. So here for this demonstration, we will be going ahead by creating a new project. So let me give the project name as live demo. Description, I'll keep it blank, and let's create. Okay, so our Azure DevOps project is now created with the name live demo. Okay, here you can see the Azure DevOps services which are provided by the Azure. So like Azure boards, repositories, pipelines, test plans, and artifacts we have here. As a part of this demo, we are focusing on repos and pipelines. So let me select for the repos. Okay, so here in the files, we need a code to go ahead with this implementation. So if your code is in your local system, you can push it through the Git commands as well. You can push that directly to the Azure repositories. As of now, I already the code I have uploaded it's available in my GitHub. So I will just import this code to my Azure repositories. So here we have one more option, import a repository. So I'll select this option for the demonstration. So here the repository type I'm selecting as a Git, and I need to provide the clone URL. As I have the code already available in the GitHub, I'll just copy the URL and I'll paste it here to clone the repository. And I'll select import. It will take around few seconds to import. Okay, so our import is successful. Let's refresh and check if the files are available. So the two files which were in my GitHub, the Docker file and the index.html, are now available in my project repo, that is Azure repo. It's available. So let me open the file, the Docker file which we have, and let's see what exactly mentioned in this particular Docker file. So this Docker file, I have prepared a basic Docker file. So let me explain what exactly it is. So the first line, that is from Nginx latest, what exactly it is. So this particular command, this will like pull the Nginx image from the Docker Hub, the official Docker Hub. But what is this latest? So this is the tag. So the Nginx image with the latest tag will be pulled from the Docker Hub. The next command, which is the copy. So this particular command, it will copy a new index.html file, which will replace the default index.html, which is the Nginx default index.html, that will be replaced with the custom one. So if you want to do any customization, then in the similar way you can do it. And the next that is expose command, which I have mentioned. So like this particular command, based on this, the container will listen on port 80. So this command like mentions the same, like the container will listen on port 80. So this is a simple Docker file which we have prepared. So now let's move to the next part, and yeah, let me show the index.html. It's a basic index.html file I have prepared. So as a part of this Azure repository, which is similar to the Git repository, which is used for storing the code. So our code files are now available in the Azure repositories. So let's move to the next service, that is Azure Pipelines, which we are going to use. So this Azure Pipelines, we are like, the main purpose is again to create the CI/CD pipelines for builds and deployments. So let's create our pipeline for this demonstration. Okay. So here, while creating a pipeline, we have multiple options. Here you can see the 4 different tabs available here. So for the connect, as our code, the Docker file is available in the Azure repos Git, I will be selecting and going ahead with this option. In which repository your code is. So the same you need to select. So here we are in the live demo project. So I will go ahead with the live demo and select this. The next part for configuring your pipeline, which is the main part here while you create a pipeline. So we have 5 different options available here. You can see it over the screen. So let me go through the option and explain what exactly it is and when we can use that. And then I will go ahead with the actual implementation. So the first option with the Docker. So if your purpose is only to build a Docker image, then you can go ahead with the first option. That is Docker, build a Docker image. With this option, you can go ahead. The second option, you can use it when you want to build an image, and along with that, you want to push that particular Docker image to the Azure Container Registry. With the third option, if your image you want to build and push it to the Azure Container Registry or AKS service, the third option, it's available for us. And the fourth option, it's the starter pipeline. So the starter pipeline, it comes with the minimal code base. Whatever is the minimal code, that is only available. Rest other customization as per your requirement you can do, and you can build that pipeline and then deploy. And the last option which is available, that is the Azure pipelines, like existing Azure pipelines. So for the reuse, if you want to reuse your pipeline, in that case, you can use this option. But yeah, whenever we are using this option, we need to be very cautious. So this is all. like options where we have for the configuration of the pipeline. So as our aim to create the Docker image through the Docker file and build that image and then push it to the Azure Container Registry. So let me select the option second. So again, if you are not able to like go ahead with this option because sometimes related to the subscription level access, or if you are not having the right privileges, sometimes this option you will not be able to use. In that case, you can go ahead with the starter pipeline and then you can create the pipeline. So that is also like fine. So here I need to select the subscription. So my subscription, I'm selecting the default which I'm having. I'm clicking on continue. Now here we need to select the container registry. So the container registry we have created through the Azure CLI as ACR live demo. Let's see if that is getting reflected. So yeah, the ACR live demo container registry we have, I'm selecting the same. Image name, as we are using the Nginx image, I'm given the image name as Nginx. Docker file, the path of Docker file in the same project we have. So I'm not changing anything here, keeping it same. And I'll just click on validate and configure. Let's see, based on the configurations, the YAML file for the Azure pipeline will be generated. Okay, so our YAML file for the Azure pipeline is now available. So here, let me go through some important code parts which we need to consider while we are working and creating a new pipeline. So here in the variables part, so the Docker image, the Docker image repository, then the Docker file path tag and the container registries, which we have created, all the parts, all the parameters are reflected here. Here, the one more additional part which I have highlighted, Docker registry service connection, you are able to see. So when the container registry, this like when you are deploying it, at that time a new service connection is established if you are going ahead with this option. If you are not able to do it with the Docker build and push image to the ACR, that particular configuration option, and you are going ahead with the starter pipeline, in that case, you need to create a service connection separately. How to create that service connection, that I will show it to you once I finish and execute this pipeline. So I'll explain for that. In the tag, instead of build ID, I just wanted to mention, because we are using the latest tag for the Nginx image, I'm just I have removed the build part and tag I'm mentioning as the latest. Let me scroll down and move to these stages. So what are the subtasks which this pipeline will be performing? So here you can see which command will be executed, repositories, and the Docker file. So based on the Docker file, first our Docker image will be built and then it will be pushed to the container registry. So this is our YAML code. So whatever the configurations we have made. So let me just save and run this pipeline now. So commit directly to the main branch itself. I'm doing, as we are doing it for the demonstration purpose. Save and run. Okay. So here in the job section, you can see the pipeline is currently in the status with the queue. Let me click the details of it. You can see the subtasks and it's running. So build and push an image to the container registry. It is in progress. Okay, so it's green. So let me move back. So our pipeline it's been executed. Let me move back to the Azure portal, and I'm just going to the resource group which we created and the container registry. So as based on the Docker file which we were having, we have built the image and pushed it to the Azure Container Registry. We can see in the repositories, we are now able to see the Nginx. And here, if you click on this, the tag with the latest tag, we are able to see. If you are not because in the pipeline configuration, I just removed the build ID. If you are keeping the build ID as it is, the build ID will be reflected, and all the versions, whenever the pipeline runs, those will be reflected here. So as of now, we have executed it with the latest tag. We are able to see the same. So our image is now pushed. Let me just go back to the Azure DevOps portal, and let me show how to create a service connection if you are going ahead with the starter pipeline. So let me just select that as well. So I will select the repository in the configuration. So I'm just selecting it so that you will get to know what is the difference if you are selecting the starter pipeline, and what if we are selecting with the Docker configuration directly. So I'm just clicking on the starter pipeline. So this is the YAML code we will get if we select the starter pipeline. Rest other configurations as per the requirement we can do. For that, we can use this assistant as well. From here, you can add the tasks. So let's suppose I want to add for the Docker build and push images. I need to select it here, and again we need to provide the parameters. So in this way, once you fill all the parameters, you can those will be reflected in your YAML code. And this is specific for the tasks. But what about the service connections? Let's suppose you have created the pipeline with the starter option. You have updated the tasks, but the service connection is not there. Your pipeline will not run in that case. So the service connection is very important when you are executing, when your pipeline is executing. So what exactly is the service connection? So it is similar, like it's a secure link between your external services. Let's suppose for your Azure services or Docker kind of a thing, or GitHub, and your Azure pipeline. So this bridges the gap or creates a secure link in between the services. So if you want to create a service connection, you need to select this project settings. And in the project settings, pipelines option, you are able to see. In that, you have another option, navigate to that service connection. So for me, there is one service connection already created. Let me just delete that, and I'll demonstrate it to you how to create a new service connection. So click on create service connection. As we are seeing the live demonstration for the Docker, I'm just going ahead with the same, clicking on the Docker registry, and I'll click on next. Here, it will ask for the few details while creating a service connection. What registry type we have? We are looking for the Azure Container Registry demonstration. So I'm selecting the same. For the authentication type, we have the multiple option. As of now, I'm selecting as a service principal. Once we select that, our Azure subscription is auto-populated. Based on the subscription, again, we need to choose for the Azure Container Registry. So the same which we created earlier, I'll just choose the same. Service connection name, let me give connection 1. The optional fields, I'm keeping it blank. Next, we have one option, like a checkbox we have for the security. Grant access permissions to all the pipelines. So if you select this option, like this service connection, you can use it for the like whatever the pipelines you will create for this particular project. So for all the pipelines, it will be applicable. Let me just click on save, and your new service connection will be available, which you can use for while going ahead with the starter pipelines. So yeah, our service connection is now reflected. So this is all from our side as a part of this live demonstration. If you are interested into how we can do it, like end-to-end CI/CD, and implementing it to the like pushing the image to the Azure Container Registry, and after that to the web application or your AKS cluster, anything like that. If you are interested into the end-to-end live demonstration, you can reach out to us to over the LinkedIn handle. For the next so for the next part, I will hand over it to Rupa.
Yes, Pradnya. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Rupa, it's visible.
Yeah. So thanks for the brief live implementation of our use case, Pradanya. I now believe everyone has understood the practical demonstration of the same. We are almost towards the end of the session, but before to that, I would want to discuss and explain some of the advantages and disadvantages of our demonstration. So firstly, automation. By using this setup, any code changes in the repository triggers the pipelines, which builds and pushes the updated images to the ACR automatically. Then our second advantage is efficiency. So this setup removes the need of the developers or the operation team members to manually build and push the images. And coming to the third advantage, scalability. We can make use of Kubernetes and other orchestration tools like Red Hat OpenShift as well, which makes it easier to scale the application across different environments like dev, QA, and prod. Next, the version control. So this implementation provides structured tagging, for example, the build IDs and the commit hashes to track, manage, and roll back our container images in a very effective way. Coming to the disadvantages, our initial setup. So setting up these pipelines, service connections, and permissions takes effort in the upfront. So, but once it is configured, the future deployments becomes easier. Then our second disadvantage is obviously the learning curve. Beginners may find the YAML syntax and these pipeline orchestrations very tricky during this setup, but we would need to master these in order to learn the setup. And the third disadvantage is obviously the dependency of the DevOps services. So the automation relies on the Azure DevOps in this presentation, in this demonstration, and it should be properly configured. Without it, the workflow cannot run. So this is pretty much about our today's session. I hope this session was informative, and thank you all for your time. You can all connect with us on our LinkedIn handles, and we are open to all your suggestions and questions. And also we would want to know if any use case or any demos, if we want to present it to you, we would be happy to. Yes. Thank you all. I'll just stop sharing my screen.